Welcome, friends and family, to the Real 28 podcast. I'm your host, TB, and today we've got an exciting panel for you, starting with Andre.
How y'all doing, man? This is your boy G5 Monster, a.k.a. Andre. You heard, man? Wide receiver, man, street thug.
All right, we also got your boy James on the wire.
What's going on, people? James, man. Central worker. Get to work, baby.
All right, we got LeBron on the podcast.
It's LeBron Brown, the educator's educator, here to have some fun and talk real business.
Last but certainly not least, we got Chance on the background.
Say the best for last. Young Chance holding it down. Ready to talk about some good stuff.
All right, welcome. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about leadership. All right. What do we mean when we talk about leadership? Well, leadership is a buzzword that garners many mental images. We compare and contrast the last two presidents as examples. We also are charged to lead in our personal lives. However, it's rare that we discuss leadership on a micro level and its ripple effects to society as a whole. So the first thing that we want to talk about today is everybody's individual definition of leadership. We also want to talk about everybody's different approach when it comes to leadership. And so to do that, I'm going to let James get us started.
All right, well, me, my approach to leadership, where I work at, I think a lot of people say I'm an asshole, but I'm fair. I try to treat everybody the same, but I am more like the old school type of people. I'm expecting you to know something that, you're just supposed to know. You see what I'm saying? So I'm the asshole, as they call me.
All right, cool. How did you develop your leadership style, James?
I think mine was a little bit of both. I believe that you have to be born with a little bit of leadership, but I was also taught along the way by people that I followed behind. So I believe it's a little bit of both, as far as you have to be born with a little bit, but you also have to learn along the way because there's different styles of leadership.
All right, how does it translate to your family life?
Now that's a totally different story, because dealing with a wife and kids, especially me, I have a bunch of girls. So I have to be a little more gentle, a little more softer on the softer side. So I can't be blunt.
Not a dictator.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? I can't be as blunt and straightforward at home as I can be at work, because I'm dealing with a bunch of guys at work. So older guys, and they're gonna understand if I say something, then okay, let's get that done. But with the kids, sometimes you have to dumb it down some. With your wife, sometimes you have to smooth it out. You can't just tell your wife blah 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 blah, because they're not gonna listen and understand. You have to make it smooth. So.
A lot more compromise.
There you go.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say, though, is still you're expected to be the point. You're expected to be the person who makes the decisions that impact and drive the whole.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I got anybody else on the panel want to chime in on that? Chance, Brian, Drake?
Yeah, I'll step in. When we came up with this topic, I kind of researched a little bit, and I looked up leadership styles just on Google, my favorite thing to look up on, and it had a plethora of different leadership styles. So I kind of looked through those, and the ones that I think fit me the best was it was a democratic leader and a paternalistic leader. I'll read these two off so I can kind of set it up a little bit. A democratic leader consists of a leader sharing the decision-making abilities with group members by promoting the interests of the group members and practicing social equality. Yeah, paternalistic is like taking care of your subordinates like a parent would, kind of leading, um, showing that you got complete concern for all his followers. In return, he receives the trust and loyalty of his people. I think that's kind of my two styles. I think I'm a combination of both. I give you an example. Like at my job, we have a lead team because you have, your management team and you have your hourly employees. So as far as being a Democrat leader, my goal is to use everybody's strengths to the fullest to make the team better. So you kind of got to give them leeway to make their own decisions and make their own mistakes also. Then when they do make mistakes, you kind of just coach them up and, make sure that they don't continue to make those mistakes. So it's like leading by example, but giving them the leeway to do their thing and get better and get stronger because as a leader, you're only as good as your people. Um, Other people have great ideas all the time, man. So, and then everybody wants to be heard. We have kind of little surveys that they talk about, and one of the biggest things is like, does my opinion count? And I want to make sure everybody's opinion counts. You're not always going to be able to go with that opinion or that idea, but instead of just blowing them off and saying no just because I said so, you want to say, we're not going to go in that direction right now, but this is why, and kind of explain to them so they can get an understanding. And then they don't feel like you blowing them off. They feel like you listen to them and all that stuff. So that's kind of my deal on being a kind of democratic type leader. As far as paternalistic, I try to take care of them the best I can. I want to let everybody know that I genuinely care about them, care about their well-being, their safety, and try to get them to know them a little bit, know things about the kids, about their wife. So when you go talk to them, you're like, hey, man, how'd the kid do at the game last night? Or how far along is your wife? So y'all about to have a baby. And it's just not superficial as far as, hey, I need you to do this at work, but you got to show them that you got that genuine interest, and it can't be fake either. It got to be real. You got to really genuinely care about your people. And I think once they know that, they're more apt to follow you and do the things that need to be done.
Cool. Piggybacking off Chance, when I heard the topic introduced, leadership, I think being a leader and having leadership is using everyone's strengths to get the best out of the team and what's best for the team. And what I came up with for my style of leadership is coaching style, because I try to tap into everyone's potential, knowing that everyone's strengths are different and weaknesses are different. So what I try to do is I try to use your strengths and to help the team more in those things that you're weaker at. I try to bring you in the gym or get you somehow to strengthen those to where you are comparable to others. But being an effective leader, I think you have to have a different style for different people, because everyone is not motivated the same by the leadership. Some may be like Michael Jordan, in your face. Some may be more laid back. But to be an effective leader, you have to employ your surroundings, your group, so that they feel important, that everyone has a say-so, and you can't shoot down ideas, kind of like Chance said. Even though we may not use your idea right now, saying, Tim, maybe next time we'll use your idea in this situation, but just using everyone's strengths to make the team better.
All right, Dre, you want to chime in a little bit?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, my point of view is kind of, I guess, piggybacking off what James said, as far as the dictatorship, somewhat, not necessarily as harsh as a dictatorship, but very direct. And then also, I kind of hit people from a psychological point of view. It's like Chance said, you got to get to know people. You got to kind of learn a little bit about their background. But instead of me coming at them with, I know what you got going on, yada, 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 I need this out of you, blah, 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 blah. I'm more like, okay, I know this guy. I know you can't come at him direct because it ain't going to respond well to it. So I got to kind of come on a roundabout approach. Like, hey, man, look, I know you don't want to necessarily be in this position. So, but at the same time, you got to step your production up if you want to get to that next position. More like a motivational type angle for some people. Then other people, like you say, you come straight direct. And like, hey, I know what you're doing. You're back here on your phone. You're playing. Like, cut it out. Or, suffer the repercussions behind it, But I guess I kind of learned myself personally, like I say, being in the street. Like, of course, I didn't come out the gate as a leader. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of sit back, kind of go with the wind blow. But then I kind of learned, like, from one of my homies in the street, like, oh, okay, like, he basically earned his respect, and his respect made him a leader. So it was like, okay, cool. So I understood that. It's like almost like showing, it's like I got to do the work. And once you see me do the work and you know I ain't scared to do the work, you ain't got no trust but the respect because I've already been there, done that. So I kind of use my respect on my effort level, the hard work I put into it to gain my respect to put me in a leadership role. So, I mean, like I said, it come from different angles and different styles, like you said, but at the same time, I'm more kind of straightforward and then also with me being 6'5", 265, it's kind of like, it's almost somewhat of a inkling of, people being inferior to me just based off my size. And, of course, I'm a black man. Of course, as we see, the world is threatened by a tall, big black man. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, I don't use that to my advantage, but I can't help it. God bless me to be this big. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it all kind of go hand in hand. Like I said, I know a lot of it's intimidation factor, but it's not necessarily intimidation factor for me, like trying to muscle up on people. It's just my presence. I'm 10 toes down. You know what I'm saying? Like, my chest is up. I ain't standing like this. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I mean, people got to use, their skills to their advantage and also use other people's skills to their advantage. In order to be a good leader.
I got a question now. I see everybody got their own style of leadership and everything. It's all good here. But we know that in these days and times, we live in a kinder, gentler world. All right. So, I'm saying this younger generation, because we work with both. We work with the older generation and the younger generation. I mean, when you're working with the younger generation, it's like you have to drag them along for them to understand what you're trying to tell them or teach them. Versus like the older generation, you can just tell them, one thing, hey, I need this done. All right, boom, it's done. The younger generation, you got the, hey, I need this done. You got to go back 5 minutes, go check. Oh, why they ain't done yet? Blah, blah, blah. Go back again another 10 minutes. Hey, it need to be done. So I'm trying to see, why is that? What is the disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation?
I can chime in on that and answer that real quickly. This all converts all the way back to our first podcast when we talked about the presence of the man in the household. It boils down to that, and also partially from the woman who in the household, regardless, not instilling to tell you the first time, that's all I got to tell you. I'm pretty sure your mom, and your mom told you the same thing. I tell you one time, that's all I got to tell you. The next generation, they didn't get that. And the man not there to establish that, hey, your mom told you this, or hey, I told you this, why you ain't do it? So with those factors not being there, and of course, it's super hard for a woman to raise a man because they are a woman. So with all those factors involved, there you go. That's why I get it like you, because I see the same thing you talking about.
I can agree with that, but I think as far as technology and all that stuff has also been a part in it too, because when we came up, we played outside all the time. It's just that we were just a little more rough and rugged than the people now. They're inside all day. They expect to have air conditioner, be on the phones, play on the computer all the time. And some of these jobs, like manufacturing jobs and stuff like that, you can't have phones. You got to be out there, working. And they think, I'm supposed to be able to use my technology that I am, or everybody want an office job, but they don't want to work and do the things necessary to get to where they need to get. So it's kind of like people are babied, or they think they're supposed to get something for nothing. in these time of days, like the younger people.
I think kids are motivated by different things than we were. As you know, things change, and I don't think, like I was saying, I don't think the old style leadership is going to work with this new generation, because I think you're going to meet more resistance with the way we were brought up, because it's a different society now. Things are totally different. So if you only have one style of leadership, yeah, it may be effective for some, but how about those that are not motivated by the old school drill sergeant mentality? Do you lose those, or do they get pushed off by the wayside? Or do you kind of not change the way you lead, but modify it in some ways that it fits all? It's not one size fits all. I just think they're motivated by different things, being that I've worked with the younger group, the middle school, high school. It's not going to work with a dictatorship with all of them. You have to be different.
I get everything that all of y'all saying. But in my field of work, my job is a life or death situation. Because, I mean, what I do, I'm a fireman. So what I do, if you fuck up, somebody can die. So the thing is, I'm more like a 3-strike person. You 3 strikes, your ass out. I mean, I'm not the one that do the hiring and firing, but 3 strikes, hey, I'm going to the next man. Hey, this guy ain't gonna work out, man. I don't try everything, and I mean, I'm gonna try to give you all the tools you need. But if you just can't comprehend it, I'm not putting my life at risk with you, and I know that you can't get it. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm open to learning different ways and new things, but to me, man, you got to get it, or shit. I want to go home every night with my wife and kids. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, I say that to my people too. You know,
it's I guess it differs from different jobs, because see, my job is not as life or death as yours. So my leadership style may work for the group that I'm with, but with that being said, even though it's life or death, if you what do you think about if it's a kind of disaster going on with the fire, but you only have one style of leadership? So now, not only are you putting yourself at risk, you're putting others at risk, because you're not going to get as much production out of X, Y, and Z, because they're not receptive to your leadership style. But so now, how would you treat that? How do you change that?
That's a little late in the game once you get in the
right. What you understand? What James was saying, he would go ahead and manipulate the situation prior. So, like you say, when it does come that crunch time, he got people that he know he can roll with. You know what I'm saying? Because of the seriousness of his job.
If we're somewhere and it's something real important, like we have to save somebody's life, run into a fire, anything like that, I don't have time to sit there and babysit you. You see what I'm saying? Because everybody has a job to do when we get there, and everybody to know their job when we get there. So I don't have time to say, "Hey, you need to come on. We need to get this done."
Right.
Go do this. Then that's what we got to do. Boom. Let's get to work. Let's get this done. Let's get on home.
Understood. Point well taken. But think about this. If your leadership style was different prior to, how does that change the situation? Maybe if you had a different approach while y'all were going through your training or sitting at the firehouse, maybe when you get there, your leadership style doesn't have to be so direct, because you've already taken care of that in another way prior to. That, and my example is, say if I go to a basketball game, I'm coaching basketball, but I'm a dictator, right? But the dictatorship is not working for player X during the game. So do I scrap player X and what they bring to the team because my leadership style, I can't modify it?
Or it's according to how good they are, bro.
So I'm not saying
well, it's true. It's true that it's how good they are, but everybody brings something to the team at that moment, whether it's been a cheerleader, whether it's being the motivator. Everything is different. And maybe I don't want to lose what player X brings because player Y or Z doesn't bring that intangible. It may be an intangible thing. It may not be something you see on a stat sheet or something that's going to be in bright lights where you save a life. It may be somebody doing something very small. How do you replace that because you don't want to change your leadership style when there are several leadership styles that you can choose from that may help that person?
So allow me to interject just an alternative perspective before we go too far in pathologizing the youth. Because I think that we all can attest that even within our age group, there are some challenges with, group dynamics and being able to motivate people, have them move forward. I do think that one of the explanations that Chance provided has been very informative when he talks about how technology has kind of removed us from the source. So what I mean by that is, let's use dishwashing as an example. When you wash dishes by hand, you get a feeling if those dishes are clean, right? But if you grew up with a dishwasher and you never had to wash dishes by hand, then it's foreign to you to even have the concept of, looking at a dish and expecting it and making sure that, there are no more food particles on the dish before it removes from the dishwasher. You just assume that it's clean. So if you're that person that always grew up with a dishwasher, as opposed to people in our generation who probably grew up having to wash dishes by hand first prior to having a dishwasher, then the whole idea of you having to inspect the dish is going to be foreign. So that's not necessarily an idea of laziness as much as it's an idea of communication. And so that's one of the consistent things that has kind of emerged in a lot of the things that you guys have said is, hey, you may not necessarily have time to reinforce fundamental aspects of whatever activity it is. So you have to do a lot of coordination on the front end and understanding people's capabilities, making sure that you're not putting people in positions to fail. So basically what I'm saying is that it sounds like there's some critical elements in terms of leadership being, there needs to be a communication element, whereas you as the leader have to be able to communicate different ideas, what your expectations are, the different processes by which to do that. You have to be a facilitator, so you make sure to connect people in ways that's going to be meaningful to them. You also have to be, as LeBron said, a coach, just kind of understanding what somebody's capabilities are. I'm not going to line up somebody to run a 100-meter dash against the same boat, knowing that the same boat's the fastest man in the world. Right? That's not putting them in success position for success. But one of the things I didn't want to get lost in this subject was how you guys have developed your own personal leadership style. And then also I wanted to add to that, if you've started being this kind of leader, but then you had to adjust to become a different kind of leader, and what inspired that evolution. So I'm going to toss that back out to the panel.
Let me go first. I'm a manager now in my profession, but before that, I was a coach for about years. I coached almost every sport, and I coached football, basketball, track, cross country. I even coached lacrosse one year, and I didn't know nothing about lacrosse. But my thing is, you got to be strict for sure, but you also got to be caring. And you got to find ways to motivate different people, man. You treat everybody fair. One of my mentors told me this: you treat everybody fair, but you can't treat everybody the same. Nope. And I think people really respect that. So, as long as you, as far as like following the rules and everything, everybody has to follow the same rules, but you can't treat them all the same. And I think a lot of people don't understand this. No matter how good you think you are as a coach or as a leader, you got to have people, good people to follow you too, man. I can have all the knowledge in the world about whatever subject, but if my people that are doing the job don't know how to or aren't willing to do the thing, then we're not going to be successful. So you got to figure out a way to bring everybody else along. I think a lot of people caught up in being a leader and like saying, hey, I don't want somebody to come take my job. But for me, I'm like, I want everybody to be the best that they can be to make my job easier. You know what I mean? I'm not threatened by somebody else being good at what they do. I want them to be, if they can be better than me and they can get the opportunity to move on and be in my position or something like that, that's what I want.
Yeah, that's like dealing with your kids. Though, you know what I'm saying? You want your kids to be better than what you were.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's right there.
I'll say this. I think I changed as a leader, and I learned to lead by playing through sports. And I was in your face. I want you to maximize this. You're gonna do this, but I had to learn that everybody doesn't respond the same. There's a saying that says, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And like y'all was saying, if things are perceived and received differently when they know that you care. And I've learned that through experience. I think I've gained my leadership style through picking up pieces from different groups, different coaches, different experiences through life, and definitely having my own child and now leading the next generation. I definitely had to change, and that's some of the ways that I would develop my leadership style was through different situations, different people, and learning from those that I was around.
I was talking to somebody about this today, actually. I mean, if it wasn't for sports, I mean, I don't know where I'd be, man. You learn so many life lessons from sports, you know, how to deal with adversity, you know, because everybody not gonna go undefeated. You know what I'm saying? You got to figure out how to lose when you lose a game or when you have a bad play, how to come back from that. You know what I mean? So I think in real life, it's the same thing. I mean, you see somebody who messed up or something like that, you gotta go to them and just explain to them, hey, this is how we do it. This is what you do. Let's try not to make that mistake again. And, you know, just lead by example. Kind of like Dre was talking about earlier. If you show that you are willing to do the dirty work that they have to do on a daily basis, you don't ask nobody to do something that you want to do. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a good thing right there.
So let me ask you this: all of us play for the same high school coach. All right.
Yeah.
So, do any of y'all feel y'all learned anything from either from Coach Matt, Coach Amos?
Great question.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
Hey,
I can tell you this. Okay, go ahead.
Let me. Now, all of us remember a couple of weeks ago, a couple of our buddies had a little thing going on Facebook about a certain coach, right? And one of our buddies, he is a coach, and he felt that coach treated him like dirt, so he learned a totally different style of coaching. So, does the negativity affect you to change your whole style? Or do you pick up some of that negativity too?
You pick it up, but you try not to. I guess you put yourself in that player or that person's in their shoes, remembering how that coach made you feel. Was it was good or bad? So I would like to think that I've learned a lot from different coaches, whether it be good or bad. Some things I still use, some things I've thrown away. I guess it all depends on what situation you're in and your group that's around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got to have some mental toughness too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I would say for me, our head coach, I learned consistency. Y'all know he was very consistent in his play calling. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, you know, it's different because when you approach somebody that you know they're gonna do the same thing every time, it ain't never gonna change. Like, so you already know how to know what you're walking into. So it's almost like every time I went to him at the sideline to get the first call of the game, I knew he was gonna call rip to that. Like he might fumble, juggle, stutter, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be ripped to that. So I never came to the sideline hoping I was gonna get a pass play first play of the game. You know, even though I was a wide receiver, it was already programmed in my brain. We not gonna throw the ball the first play of the game.
Well,
It's gonna be
anyway.
rip 28. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I learned consistency from him, but then I also learned sternness from Coach Amy. Coach Amy taught us, you get out of line, it's gonna be consequences.
1 mile, big man.
Right, there you go. He was quick to send us on a mile. I hit us in the helmet with that damn whistle. So, you know, it was almost like we got sweet and sour sauce from both our coaches. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, I mean, and I trust me. I learned consistency because everybody I work with, they know they getting the same Dre every day I come to work. I ain't never changing. Like you said, I ain't bending, I ain't breaking, I ain't folding. I'm gonna be the same dude you got Monday on Friday. And at the same time, with the sternness from Coach Amy, that followed the consistency. Like, so if you know you mess up, you know what? I'm gonna roll up on you. I mean, knowledge is error. We're gonna work from this point on. You know what I'm saying? So it all go hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely. I learned a lot from them dudes, man.
All right, good. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about while we had a few minutes, I think we're going to end up wrapping the podcast up on this. And I think that we see the lasting impression that leadership leaves. I mean, all of us are leaders in our families and in our organizations, and therefore that has community impact. We just got finished watching The Last Dance of Michael Jordan, and so we see leadership in the sports context, but now we're going to talk a little bit about leadership in a social context. And in this case, recently there's an article that came up that talks about misleadership in the Black community. And this is an ongoing critique that people have when it comes to leadership in the Black community. Basically that we have a political class of leaders who do not represent the entirety of the Black experience. And so in this particular case, they're talking about Atlanta specifically, and T.I. and Killer Mike. And just to highlight the critique that these young men received, the reader says that the entire spectacle was a mismatch of scolding, empty political sloganeering, tone-deaf pleas for peace in response to systemic state violence, and the treachery of the Black misleadership class. In his 2018 article, Black Agenda Report executive editor Glenn Ford defines this class as both an actual and aspirational class of political forces readily prepared to sell out the interests of the overwhelmingly working class Black masses for sake of capitalist, corporate, or imperial interests. So once again, just in summary, you basically have people who are opportunists who kind of sell out everybody. So, you know, given the backdrop of current events that we currently have and the scramble that we currently have in terms of finding solutions, can you guys tell me your thoughts on leadership as it leads to you guys going to your communities in a broader sense, and also the leadership that you've seen at the top, whether it be from the Black leadership class or maybe the president or whoever it is that you want to identify as leaders in this time, what to do right versus what not to do.
Well, you know, with me I got 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. I think as far as leadership with the kids, you know, my kids are pretty popular and they have a lot of friends. They have their friends come over to the house all the time. I think, you know, showing how I'm a father in the house with a family, a wife and kids and everything for those kids. And then, you know, I coach Little League football and basketball and stuff like that. You know, that's my thing to the community, that, you know, they can see a strong Black man being positive, not doing drugs and out here wilding out like some of these people do, but, you know, just trying to be positive. I got a decent occupation that they be like, man, you know, if he can do that, you know, I can do that too, you know. And if anybody say that they want to be where I'm at, you know, I'm out there like, hey, you'd be way better than me, you know. I kind of got a late start. When I was younger, man, I look back at the opportunities I could have had, and then now, you know, it's like, if I would have had somebody to tell me that at a younger age, man, I could have been way farther than I am now. So just getting with the kids and teaching them and letting them know that they have these opportunities and nothing is off limits. You know, the sky's the limit for everybody. I think that's important.
So Tim, let me ask you this: Are you asking as far as that article, like guys that don't pretty much made it, like millionaires or whatever like that? Are you asking, are they sellouts?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a two-part question. So the first thing is, yes, you know, if you feel like Killer Mike, T.I., and individuals of that ilk are not serving the community, number one. And then number two, how can they better serve the community? But then number three, let's not pretend like we do not have agencies as members of these communities, right? So with you being a fireman, how can you potentially improve the climate so that, you know, we don't have to have 10 days and counting of protests in order to push back against the power structure?
All right. Well, I'm a firm believer in I kind of trust you until you give me a reason to distrust you. So I think these guys are actually trying to do the right thing. Now, if they have another agenda where they may be like a sponsorship or something with somebody where they can get a couple extra dollars, then I mean, that's what they're gonna do. I mean, but I generally think that they are trying to help, but a lot of people, less fortunate people, are gonna think that they're not, because okay, well, why you don't come back here and give out turkeys, or why you don't come back here in the hood and chill with us, or something like that. So I mean, it's I ain't gonna say they sell out. I think they're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of tune in or whatever, but like, as far as what I know, like I follow a lot of them dudes. Like I follow T.I., I follow Killer Mike, and like really, what it boils down to, they do things to help the community, but really, like at the end of the day, and I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up. People know, like we all know, people don't want to face it. People ain't talked about it yet during this time, but the white man will kill their own kind who are helping us. Like, I don't understand like why people so big on, oh, they killing the black man, they would kill their own kind as well. They killed Abraham Lincoln, they killed J.F. Kennedy, they killed Martin Luther King, they killed Malcolm X. They will kill anyone who tries to go, I put it like this, go out of their way to help us. And so with that being said, it's like making it rich as a black man is only but so far you can go to help your community, or else you won't continue to be a rich black man. And who wants to live in the hood? Who wants to live in poverty? Who wants to have money and then don't have money no more?
I'm gonna say one more thing, but that's just like The Last Dance when they were talking about Michael not being able to say something when they had that black governor or whatever like that. I mean, right. that man's choice not to say something. He might not be a political guy. That don't mean just because I got money, I got to go and voice my opinion about everything. That might not be your thing, man. You know, sometimes the best things are stuff that's not said.
Right. Right. But all I'm saying, I'm just speaking on the point of you can suffer the ultimate consequence by trying to help us. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like I'm with you. Like, of course, everybody ain't gonna speak on stuff, but it's just, I mean, I put it like this: they've already inserted their fear in everybody to know, but so far you can go.
I'll say I don't think they're sellouts because I don't think we know them well enough. But I will say that they do come with a hidden agenda to promote their brand. And I would like to see them get out more and do things in the community when it's not a holiday, when it's not someone dying in our community, when it's not a crisis, when the world is not in an uproar. Those are the small things that I think that would help our community, seeing our leaders that we look up to and and everything that have the money, that have the platform, I would like to see them do more on a day-to-day basis. I know we lead busy lives, but what a leader does is sacrifice, communicate. So I would like to see them sacrifice a little more of their time, their monetary value to help our community, such as we're doing, and us on a smaller scale, getting back in the community, whether it's coaching, whether it's being a mentor, whether it's having a boys group, or some kind of community organization to give back and to teach our kids how to be leaders.
Well, I got a quick question. I think Tim might answer this, but everybody else can chime in. So, do we feel like it's these celebrities' responsibility to be leaders? So, I mean, you know, I remember back in the day when I was growing up, you know, Charles Barkley had a commercial saying, you know, I'm not a leader, I'm not a role model type thing. And I mean, I can really see. I mean, you don't have to be a role model just because you got a lot of money. I mean, just because you play basketball. I mean, or football. I mean, you know, some of these dudes that play ball, they just made it while pure athleticism, or because they was a good guy or anything like that. And there's a lot of people that ain't good people. So do you want them really to be your role models or leaders? So I mean, is that something y'all feel that a necessity to have?
Well, I think that, and then what we'll do, I'm gonna answer that question, and then we'll give everybody about 5 seconds to say what they're going to do as a leader in their hometown, and then we'll wrap up the chat. But I think that you have to be conceptually consistent. And so what I mean by that is, if you're expecting the 45th president of the United States to act in a particular way, then you also have to expect this from the people that you're going to pedestal in terms of your public figures. So even though they may not necessarily sign up to be a role model, they cannot divorce the fact that they are high profile and that their actions are influential. And therefore, they bear the burden of making sure that these actions that they produce are things that can be emulated safely by everyone. Because it's different, as Charles Barkley states, for him to throw somebody out of the window because he gets the protection of celebrity, which he did in the 90s. Either one of us were to throw somebody out of the window, we're going to jail. And we're going to have to deal with the leaders.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
So last thing, everybody's going to get a few seconds just to talk about, you know, being a leader in the community, moving forward in the aftermath of George Floyd, and then we'll end the podcast. So we'll start with Drake.
Well, being that I'm in a new community, it's really, and I'm in a predominantly white community at that, it's almost like my whole leadership skills has got to be adjusted. Like what we talked about before, is just I have to approach everyone differently according to their personality, according to the conversation that's initiated. I guess I'm grateful for the white community I live in. They're very nice. They're a little elderly. They're very nice. They don't really come at me sideways or anything. So, I mean, right now, like I say, it's real easy going. I guess I got to learn my way in the Chuck Town.
All right, James.
Me? Oh, well, man, I think I need to get out more. I think I need to be like a big brother, because I think I do have a wealth of knowledge that I can teach some of this younger generation. I mean, I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I'm not the dumbest either. So I think I do need to get out more. I have 3 daughters, and I try to teach them everything, but we have to teach our men too. We have to teach our men certain things, because our men are turning into women nowadays. So I think I do need to get out more and probably be a big brother or something like that.
Bron?
Well, I guess for me, I'm in the community kind of every day because I teach and I coach, and I also go back, and I know sports is not the answer for everything, but I go back and I do certain trainings with kids that are less fortunate. I train them for free in sports, and I also have a mentoring group. We're called the Young Men of Distinction. So I'm just out trying to teach them how to be leaders and how to be a positive influence on those around them. So I'm in the community every day, man, just trying to give back. I don't have a lot of money, but I do have my time and I do have myself. So I try to be giving of that and, you know, sacrifice a little free time to kind of give back to the community, especially young Black males.
James.
All right, my thing is, you know, to be a good leader, man, you got to have good people following you. You got to. I always go back to sports on a lot of things because I mean that's just how I grew up. But you think about Phil Jackson or Greg Popovich, somebody. Phil Jackson probably recognized as one of the greatest coaches ever, right? But that man had Scottie and Jordan. Then he had Shaq and Kobe. I mean, you had to have some ballers to make that stuff happen. So my thing about leadership is making as many ballers as I can make. So if I can get the people that I'm trying to lead to be exceptional, that's gonna make me a better leader. So that's my concept on the thing. You know, keep empowering people, keep making them try to grow and get better. And then it's easy to be a leader when you got great players or great people or great employees. So work your best to make the people great.
Yeah, so to wrap us all up, and the final thought that I'll share with you guys is you don't have to be in charge in order to be a good leader. You can be the guy that's making the fries on the McDonald's line. But you make the hell out of them fries, and they never have to rely on those fries being cold or late or anything like that. And you are leading by example that other people can emulate. In terms of moving forward in the community after George Floyd and the aftermath, just take that same concept with you. And whatever it is that you do it well and do it in service to your community. That's going to include your inner circle and your outer circle. And we'll all create a better world. There's some organizations that you guys can get involved with if you so choose. Project South and the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, among others. You can find them with their social media presence. But on behalf of the 28 podcast, I am TB, speaking on behalf of Dre, James, LeBron, and Chance. We thank you guys for your time and your listening. We look forward to speaking to you at the next point in time.
Yeah, love y'all.
Appreciate you. Make sure you go subscribe to the RIP 28 podcast on YouTube, Twitter. Like, share, do all of that.
Eastside.